Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I have a very special guest building out one of the most amazing events that has graced both Austin and is now about to go grace Miami, trying to make the industry feel a lot more loose and getting away from the rigidness of the Web 2.0 world and now getting into what is the fun of Web 3.0. We have Michael Huynh, who is part of DeCentral. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Well, thank you for being here. And before we dive into your event that's coming up in this November, first, let's discuss a little bit more about you. Can you give us some background on yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So a little bit about me and like what I do in the industry. I started crypto full time in 2017. I kind of dove down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and just kind of like never looked back. So I initially started working with a marketing firm called Lunar Digital Assets. So they were one of the ones that was they were one of the ones that kind of like pushed me into learning deeper about, Ethereum and a lot of the other blockchains as well. And from there, got a lot of different industry experiences by helping a lot of their clients. And one of the notable ones was Polygon. So from there, build that relationship with them from Matic Network all the way to Polygon. And was able to understand kind of like their work ethic and their work mentality of what it really meant to be a Web3 company. And from there, went over to kind of like did a few other things, Quickswap, tokenomics, and then after that, we decided to say, hey, look, me and my friends got together and said, there's a industry that really needs to find a way to creatively and be a part of a community within an event. So we found that little vertical, and we decided to start hosting conferences. And last year, we hosted our first physical conference in Miami called DeCentral Miami, and we had 5,000 people show up. We also had over 130 sponsors, 30 plus layer ones and layer twos, and just like we had like 5 stages, and it was just kind of like a really good environment because we let everyone hang loose. There was not a lot of restrictions in terms of like what they could and couldn't do. As long as you're building within the space, we wanted to include you. And the reason for that is because we wanted to make it to where it's like a safe haven. You come in, you enjoy an event, you go home leaving happy, and you get value out of the event through the connecting.
Definitely, man. It's always great to be able to meet in person, especially in this Web3 space. We all went through COVID together, and we had to build a lot of online communities. So be able to have an event that kind of brings everyone together post this or during rather, and to really start to connect. It's really amazing that you were able to put on an initial conference and have that many people show up. Like, kudos to y'all. I know a lot of work that goes into putting out events and what it means to be able to get that many people, get those sponsors, et cetera. But going back to your background just for a second, you gave a quick shout out to Quickswap. We had them on the show a while back, so I want to give a quick shout out to them. But it's really interesting to be able to see like how you were first building in this space and really seeing how do you go about both building a really superior product, but then also figuring out how do you build that community aspect as well. How are you able to take those experiences and then be able to translate that over into building out DeCentral?
Yeah, it was kind of like I would say the beginning part was becoming a student. So me trying to learn as much as I can about blockchain and learning as much information as I can. And then from there, looking at different resources. I spent hours just scouring Telegram groups, Discord groups, Twitter, YouTube, trying to find the resources because for me, I really, really wanted to learn. And in order to, be proficient, I wanted to find a way to actually provide value back. So that's where the kind of like the skill sets come in and get applied when I was working at Lunar Digital Assets. It was able to, go into communities, manage them, and then find ways to interact with them and see what ticks and what's good and what's bad. And from there, optimize too. So, and then once we come to events, it's kind of like, we're now wanting to give back. Like it's been 5 years for me in this industry. I want to find a way to give back, and I want to find a way to connect the community that has been there for me since then. Like everyone is very nurturing and everyone is really caring as long as you find the right people and they're willing to help. You just have to find a way to provide value back to them as well. So for me, even like, for example, this background is from Tone Bays tweeted this out. And basically what happened was they have like 5 or 6 different Zoom backgrounds, but this is before kind of like the NFT wave kind of kicked off. But all that was there was like a little donation button for like a Bitcoin address. So, if he provides value to you, you provide value back to him by donating to the artist that's, creating the graphic. But we want to give back to the communities that are going to be the next generation or the previous generation that is going to continue on pushing the movement of Web3 and crypto across the world.
And I love that about this industry, and especially about more and more of the people who I meet who are building here really do have that giving back aspect of how do you pay stuff forward? How do you not just pay it forward with providing a ton of value, but then also as other people are entering the space, bringing them up faster, paving the way to make their path a little bit faster and straighter, and giving them resources to either build their product, build their community, et cetera, and just have us be a really good ecosystem of sharing and giving. And along that, you originally started DeCentral. I first want to we'll dive into that a little bit more. Like, at what point were you like, okay, I want to do this and let's plan this out? So for a lot of people who've never put on an event, they don't necessarily know the finer details of what really goes into throwing this. So if you can walk us back through that first journey of putting on the first event and kind of fast forwarding into where you're now putting on another event in Miami, can you kind of just walk us through that?
Yeah. So for us, we wanted to kind of use, so our first brand, the first one that we launched was called DeFi Summit. It was a virtual summit. We did have like previous event experience in terms of like hosting smaller meetups, like from our team, but nothing on the scale of like Miami. So what we did was we wanted to see if we can test ourselves to find a way for speakers to come on and how can we manage that as a team. So we decided to launch DeFi Summit first, virtual brand that all the videos are all online for free. So if you guys want to go check them out, by the way, the thing about our conferences is that we do not like to have we set boundaries first. The rules and the foundations of every event has to be followed across all of our brands. So number one is basically non-exclusives. We wanted it to be where if competitors are coming on stage, I'd rather put them on a panel and talk to each other than to kind of keep those hidden words across and kind of like keep the hate on each side. I want the walls to kind of like fall down from the silos of everyone because I know everyone is building towards the same path. Um, Also from that too is like we would have to for the virtual ones we would have to continue on doing marketing, finding ways to kind of push avenues, getting those connections, and then reaching out to previous connections and previous friends to kind of see if there was an interest. So like the first event went really well. We had over 200 speakers, a lot of notable names on there, including like Mark Cuban, Stanny from Aave, Sandeep Nailwal from Polygon, and a plethora of people as well. But the thing about that is like we wanted to be blockchain agnostic. So anyone and everyone was included instead of just having it where it's just separated into one silo. And that everyone resonated with that. We stuck to kind of like our core fundamentals, and we stuck to kind of like the base foundation of what we want out of the event because like we wanted this information as well. We wanted some of the alpha. So it was good kind of like organizing that. And then we did a second one, which is called NFT Con, which focused all about NFTs. And we still saw that the demand was there. On the journey towards Miami, we've never done a 5,000 person event. Like none of us has. So the journey was a little bit rough. It was a lot of kind of like trial and error in the beginning. But what we wanted to do was we really focused and sat down and said, we really need to make this work because this is something that the industry really needs. And me and my team went to Miami probably a month in advance before the event. And we were working like 18-hour days just to make sure we were like getting everything ready because we really wanted to put that touch and care into it. Like I want someone to come to the event and enjoy it, not have a fire festival.
Yeah. No, I definitely don't want to put on another fire festival, but that's cool. I mean, just to first start with a virtual event to build out some of the finer details around getting your speakers, figuring out how to get good panels together, and figuring out how do you then bring an audience to participate and listen to these speakers and get a lot of that going before going over into the physical event and into the scale that you did. And I mean, again, going and put in the 18-hour days, like I definitely understand the challenges that potentially come with that. And the stress that can lead up to an event, or even during the event itself, and being able to reset yourself after the event's over. But you go and have that successful event. You then come to Austin. You put on a DeCentral here, and now you're getting ready to go do the one in Miami. Can you give us a little bit of more information on what's coming up in November?
Yeah. So we wanted to basically go back to Miami. Like we're going to do this as a yearly thing. So we're going back to Miami right before Art Basel. So we're going to be front running Art Basel again. And Art Basel is traditionally a really fun event for everyone that's going to be musicians, creators, artists. It's a vibe that basically everyone goes around and creates a lot of value for everyone. So for us, we wanted to kind of front run that again. So we'll be at the James L. Knight Center on the 28th and 29th of November. And we wanted to also kind of like change venues because the first one we had was MACC at the airport. We had that as a test trial. Everyone kind of like gave us a lot of feedback, and we took that feedback and we implemented that. We wanted it to be a more fun experience every single time. So we upgraded to the James L. Knight Center. So we actually booked the entire James L. Knight Center and the Hyatt that's associated with it for both of those days, and the 4 floors as well. So we have a full venue buyout. We're aiming to have around like 5 stages or so. The main stage has around like 4,600 seating capacity, and then we also have our DeFi and DAO stage. We're also creating a Web3 women's only stage. We wanted to also showcase some of the newer founders that are coming in. So we also do have a Web3 pitch stage that are VCs are trying to get funding. Startups are trying to get funding from VCs. We're working on a Web3 job fair as well. So if you guys want to be able to reach some of these sponsors and some of these protocols that will be at the event, we want to find a way to get more people into crypto.
Yeah, man, that sounds amazing. The fact that y'all are doing your venue, you have a place to stay right there. You're booking the 4 floors, have all the different stages. You have a lot of entry points for different people in this space who are trying to connect, network, meet some of these different people, and also be able to get some really good education from it as well. As you're kind of like scaling this out, and for the person that's listening to this right now, and they're like, "Wow, that sounds really cool." Um, a lot of people in various ways during bearish times are more hesitant to potentially go and participate in some of these types of events. Why do you think now more than ever it's important for people to continue to go out, attend these events, network, and keep growing?
I think that you're always a student in crypto, and there's never enough information for you to finally grasp. Like no one can be the master of all different types of verticals, whether it's DeFi, fashion, DAOs, NFTs, gaming, and metaverses. There's so many different angles. Um, the reason that you should probably go to the event, I don't want to shill it too much, but the reason that kind of like the events is kind of needed is because of the connections that you make are going to be there with you for long term. And also there's a lot less noise. So if you see during a bull run and compared to during a bear run, like we focus on marketing towards the builders within crypto. Like we don't want it to be where it's like, hey, look, someone is coming in and trying to disrupt or trying to rug or do things like that. We want to create positivity for people that are within the crypto space and that are still here, throughout the entire time because they see value in that. They see what we're trying to build and what we're trying to go across. So bear market or bull market, we'll still continue on having our events. If this year is not, the option for you, that's totally fine. We'll invite you in next year. But I think that all of these current topics still need to kind of be focused on as well, because there's so much innovation in the industry, and we want it to be where everyone around the world can still find a way to view in and listen in as well. Because like the topics that we really want to hear from is the ones that we like from us as a team, for example, like we want to hear some of these topics and we want to hear it from the leaders because they're the ones that are kind of like at the front line saying, hey, look, I'm going to talk to regulation. I'm going to be the ones to kind of change the policies, or, hey, look, this is a new invention that I created. We want to hear those kind of like hard hitting facts from the journalists as well, to be able to kind of, just make it a more fun environment, but at the same time, an educational environment.
Definitely, man. And uh, what I really enjoy about this is what you said about this is for the builders. Right now, there's a lot of people building. We're all going through the same struggles. We're all going through the same things. But it's the builders who are going to make this industry continue to grow, and we're the ones that are going to last. So I definitely resonate with that. And talking about some of the various topics, there's two topics that we talked about, before you came on the show that I definitely want to speak on a little bit deeper now, and that is gaming and DeFi. So I know that you have experience in traditional gaming, but I want to spend a little time just discussing like how do you think this industry is going to continue to evolve over time as it relates to gaming?
Yeah, I think for gaming right now, everyone's like, "Oh my god, gaming is like a downtrend or an uptrend." Don't speculate on the market. The thing about gaming is that gaming does take time to make sure that it releases. If companies are saying, "I can release a game out in 6 months," if, even if it's like a flash game, as if you guys remember flash games back then, if it's like a flash game, maybe that's okay. But if you really want a AAA quality game, it does take time to kind of create. So I think gaming will take a surge in 2023 or 2024, especially once more products are released out and the gaming ecosystem starts to thrive. Like if we look at like some of the big competitive games, Fortnite, League of Legends, CS:GO, like they all take time to build up to that community portion. And from there, they start creating these tournament styles. They start creating these, LAN parties and everything. So it takes time to kind of build that out once the game is ready. And also with that too, it's like games will go through a phase where there will be a lot of hacks, there will be a lot of exploits, there'll be a lot of different types of bugs. It's because the nature of games is everything has to. It's basically tinkering with a box. Something might break and you're like, okay, let me go back and fix this real quick. Um, so so yeah, I think gaming will take a trend, and it does lead to a way for kind of like mass adoption that can really, really scale pretty quickly, especially if you have blockchain technology in the background and you make it user friendly. It's going to be like Steam. People are going to be able to log in with a username and password, go and play their game, be able to earn money or potentially earn some rewards and be rewarded for the experience of all their data is then utilized for them, instead of being sold to third party companies. And a lot of these games would, like traditional games, would kind of gatekeep a lot of their assets as well.
Right. I appreciate you bringing that up as something that's critical to I think Web3 games right now is that just like you said, these massive games take time. But as you look towards mass adoption, I think there's, as it relates to crypto in the Web3 space, the two entry points are going to be NFTs and gaming. And as you get more of this traditional Web 2.0 type of community more onto the crypto community, that's when they start to deal with and participate in things like DeFi, and then also like go to that next phase of metaverse, and then also go to other things that are involved in this space. And I want to spend a little bit more time on DeFi because I genuinely think DeFi, decentralized finance, has a lot of opportunity and can be one of the greatest equalizers that the world has ever seen. However, I don't think the entire puzzle has been fixed yet. I think of the circle, we've gotten to like 70 to 80% of problems being fixed, but that last 20% is going to be really hard to solve. We've seen a lot of DeFi projects go under. Not going to spend a lot of time on Luna and all the things that came with that. But where do you think DeFi needs to evolve to become more sustainable?
I think DeFi is good as it is. Of course, optimizing to making sure that liquidity pools are more rewarding or more efficient is it's always going to be a process, and I don't think DeFi is ever going to be fully complete. It's like no industry is ever fully complete of innovation. Um, we've seen something happen though. The stock market would stop trading. Besides the dexes, would go on continue on 24/7. So I think that we're starting to see, like, a lot of people are starting to see that, hey, look, the regular financial system does have something that's of a flaw, and with decentralized finance, we kind of fix it. It's all on the blockchain. You can see every single transaction. You can see everything that's happening. It's on 24/7, and we've seen a lot of protocols do liquidations, and people are like, "Holy crap! Like this is happening. DeFi is going to die." No, DeFi is working the way it's supposed to be. These are the parameters. People just took too much risk, and that sucks to be them. You risk. It's either you risk to get reward, or you try to be less risky by optimizing your strategy. So I think that even though DeFi TVL or anything like that has been decreasing due to the collapse of prices, these protocols are still running the exact same way that they were designed to do. people understood, like, if you're borrowing on Aave, you're borrowing on Compound, that once it gets to a certain price, you will get liquidated. The traditional markets, if you look at, like, let's say for example, like the whole big story with Celsius, it's like Celsius repaid their loan to get the Bitcoin back, but you can default on other creditors if you want to. In the traditional sense, take me to court. In DeFi, they got your money already, so you better pay back
Right.
that loan or you're not getting that Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's the opportunity there, and what I think a lot of people, it was a wake up call was, are you okay with potentially losing everything that you put in to get the reward back, right? So if you're being promised 10%, let's say you put in $100,000, are you okay with potentially losing $100,000 to make $10,000 in the event that the big DeFi protocol unfortunately goes under or belly ups? So it's the first time that we as an industry have had to deal with this harsh reality of, just because you get in industry, everything looks good, you're doing what you need to, but then if things go south on organizationally, the DeFi protocol, they become over levered. That's another thing you got to start weighing is, okay, is the protocol that I'm engaging with, are they acting responsibly as well? So I think, to your point, I think there are a lot of things in DeFi is doing what was meant to do, but it's exposing, I think, the potential greed that comes from the Web 2.0 space, that now you have no failsafe, because it's all protocols. When things go south, they have to go south for it to work itself out.
Yeah, a lot of people lose money in DeFi because, like, I think that they don't optimize their investment strategy, because you got to think about this, like, going into crypto and going into DeFi, you are going into, like, investing and looking at different types of trading options. So a good quote from Miko from so here's a good quote from Miko, one of my friends. Basically, if you don't see where the yield is coming from, you are the yield. And, like, that resonated with me so much, because, like, the beginning portion of it was like, I never understood, like, why a lot of people will go into super risky strategies and then complain about it whenever they lose on those strategies. You got to remember, no one's pressing the button for you on MetaMask. If it is, your MetaMask is hacked, please take out all your money and then put it into another seed phrase. But, like, people are placing money in because they want to invest, they want to add risk to their portfolio. They can go into safe alternatives or just hold on to it, whichever way it is. It's not financial advice on, like, what I can provide for you, but there are different strategies that you want to do or want to not do. So I think that DeFi is still designed to still be that ground and say, hey, look, we'll give you an opportunity to basically commit on your risk. But it's also for the users to also do due diligence and make sure that they're following up with industry trends. Like, people have whole trading terminals that trade every single day, and they have to follow industry trends and see what's going on. So it is a little bit of a tedious process, but staying current with whatever's happening within crypto is always a good indicator for you to be a savvy investor.
Yeah, and just to stay on that for a quick second, as it relates to decentralized finance, your everyday person is now being exposed to potentially, in some cases, very advanced potential trading strategies and opportunities. But historically, if you were trying to do these things, you would go deal with a broker, or you would go deal with a wealth manager, et cetera. Now you're getting the keys to the kingdom. And if you are going and investing and doing whatever, ultimately you are making these decisions. Ultimately, the money can't go into the protocol unless you press send and sign off on the contract for the money to go that way. So more people need to become more empowered and do more diligence and understand what they're signing up for. But I also think that because a lot of these protocols aren't necessarily as front end transparent with how all these things are working, people take for granted what they are used to with having their handheld in the Web 2.0 space. And now they'd have to be a lot more educated on what they're signing up for as they come into the Web 3.0 space. But I think it will continue to evolve. I appreciate you entertaining that conversation. And I think the future for DeFi is extremely bright. And there's going to be so much opportunity for a lot of people who want to educate, learn, and participate in some of these different protocols. But, Michael, I always like to wrap up with two fun questions. One that I always like to go back to is, with all the information that you've learned through putting on several events, if you could impart 1 to 2 pieces of wisdom to yourself when you first got started putting on these events, what would you tell yourself?
stay hungry, and forever learn. I
Two
know it's like
gems.
it's really simple. Stay hungry, forever learn. The reason for that is because you're always a student in crypto. There's so much innovation that's happening. Just continue on learning. And that really helped me in the beginning. In the beginning, I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. It was really about kind of like believing in our team. We really believed in each other. We really wanted this to kind of push forward. And we were always, every single time, we're like, hey, look, there's a new thing happening. There's a new trend happening. We need to learn about this. We need to make sure that we have enough information to be able to say, we can try to teach others with this. Or, hey, look, we don't know this information. Let's reach out to others and find a way to learn this. So that's why we would create events, is because we wanted to create it because at the same time, we wanted to learn more about it as well, the deeper levels of it, what the innovators are building. And we wanted to stay current. Like that was the main thing, is also to make sure that we understand the topics, because then once we understand and master those topics, we can then help and teach others to kind of help foster that relationship with them too.
Two great gems. If you're listening right now, go play that back. I think that's a really good reminder, and something that we all can act on. But Michael, as we wrap up here, what is a final thought that you want to leave with all the listeners here today?
I think that if you guys are interested in learning more about crypto, the easiest way to do it is just all that requires is your commitment and time. So all you have to do is just go onto YouTube. There's so many resources: YouTube, Twitter, go into the Telegrams. Try to find a way to find that information. Remember, we're on the internet. Like the internet is kind of like all around us. You can always find easily accessible information. And even if you want to go back on topics like last year, years before that, and kind of want to do research, a little bit about DCentral and what we do is all of our videos from all of our conferences, whether it's virtual or physical, are placed online. So you can kind of go back and listen to all of our previous speakers. We have over like 500 speakers. So just go on to youtube.com/DeFi Summit. We haven't changed our name from our first brand to DCentral because it's kind of like a reminder that, hey, look, this is where we came from. So stay humble. At the same time, we came together because of these values of wanting to build something within the industry. So for this one, we want to continue on with that. We want it to be where everyone has an opportunity to build, has a voice and be heard, and also be included. But at the same time, we want to have it to where it starts creating critical thinking by bringing a lot of the leaders together, and then having the community be there to be able to ask these questions of like, hey, how do I learn more about this? Or, hey, look, I saw this, but how do I, you get to interact with a lot of the companies instead of just interacting with them on screen. You can finally meet them in person, and be able to ask, hey, look, can I get a job? I'm a web coder. I'm a developer. I've been applying 6-7 times, but being in person, with a job fair and everything at our event, you can, actually be in front of them.
And that's powerful. And I really think that's providing resources, providing education, and having an abundance of solid resources to continue to grow in your own journey, to stay hungry and always forever be a student. I think those are two great reminders. And Michael, I appreciate all the information that you shared with us and our audience today. What are ways that people can connect with you and keep learning more about DCentral and go get their tickets if they're excited about attending?
Yeah. So DCentral is spelled D and then Central. So there's no E in DCentral in the beginning part. So you can go to DCentralCon.com, and then you can kind of learn more about like all the things that we're doing from Miami. Also on Twitter as well, DCentralCon. You can also follow our sub brands if you just want to do just DeFi or just NFT. So we have NFT Con, and then also DeFi Summit as well. And if you want to learn more about me, my Twitter handle is the DGen Boy. The boy is spelled BOII, but remember the DGen part because that's what I'm going to be forever.
For sure. Well, again, man, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for all the information. And of course, for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Cryptocurrent. Cryptocurrent is a cryptocurrency and blockchain education platform that's bridging the gap between the curious newcomers who are just discovering the space and the thought leaders who are shaping its future. All opinions expressed by Richard Carthon, the Cryptocurrent team, and their guests on this show are exclusively their own opinions. This show and any other Cryptocurrent production is exclusively for informational purposes.